back to an inside job. We're doing the second half of this with my good friend Danny, and we're just talking about, our experiences and what we think about, living sober, and the past. And the past is a little rough for me, but I just I want to maybe illustrate how the fellowship works for us. You would think you hear the same thing all the time, but sometimes one of the meetings you just pull out this gem. But Danny's talk, he said, grateful. That has been a word that's come up for me a lot lately, and it's helping me. So I grabbed that out of Danny. I know about being grateful. I know about it, but it goes away. And that helps me so much. Be grateful. Roland Gallant used to say, what the hell would he say? Shit.
Grateful heart never drinks. Did he say that? Or, be grateful, or I'll punch the lights
punch
out.
you in the mouth. He was something. So anyway, hopefully that'll get me back into that. I'm great. Oh, he would say, somebody saying their car, their whatever. Let's say my car needs a brake job, blah blah blah, and Roland would say that's a luxury problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that problem. And what he'd mean by that is, just think if you were drinking again, how you'd be approaching this thing. And he was down to earth, opinionated, stubborn, and he helped a lot of people. But there was another side of that Frenchman up in Gardner. So that's it. Pulling that thing out not pulling it out, but hearing that from Danny, and put me back on track with being grateful. Last couple of days, we just had a big snowstorm, like 24 plus, I'll say, 24 inches plus. And, I was into that, and geez, I had to shovel for 2 days. That's a luxury problem. I still have a house to do that with. I used to say squirrels in my brain, make that analogy. But now I'm going to primates. All those things running around in my head with the chimpanzee and the
orangutans?
The silverback gorilla coming in, and is it orangutan?
Yeah.
What's the big
ones
thing?
that are
It's an ape.
The one that looks like our president. The orangutan, the orange ones.
Go back.
Oh.
We can't go there.
We
cannot go back there. We could, but we'd have to have a lot of shows. That's a luxury problem.
Yeah, having opinions.
Having this
having enough
entertainment.
Having enough awareness to have public opinions.
Yeah, but that's how it works, in my opinion. Hitting another meeting, and we're talking about just AA, just the fellowship, and why I keep going. It's to just remind me. Somebody going out, somebody went out again, and then you see that person come back broken. And sometimes they don't come back because they died on this one. And then the opiate problem right now, just 200 dying a day, and then all the people that are ODing but not dying, and the problems, how alcohol and drugs rip a family apart, Just it's such a deadly disease. As alcohol. Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. I always like the old saying that we hear in AA about when I first took a drink, I'd put a dollar on the bar or whatever, and I'd get a drink. Today, if I were to go into a bar and start drinking, I'd put a dollar. I'd have to put my driver's license and the mortgage to my house and my marriage license and everything. Put it all on the bar because it's all going for the price of a drink.
It just flashed a joke in AA where the alcoholic goes in and the bartender says, "You can drink all you want." I'm getting this wrong. "You can drink all you want. It's all free today." And he says something like, "Well, give me 2 of those." I can't get it. Maybe I'll get it right. But in other words, there's never enough. It's free.
Yeah. You can have all you want.
Yeah. And that's not enough.
Give me another one. Give me 2 this time.
The joke isn't like that, but I always say it, one drink is too many for us. That's too many, one drink. Because if we pick it up, 1,000 isn't enough. And that's what the whatever it is, cliche, says. One is too many, and it would be for both of us deadly.
The last time, my last drink was a one-night stand, lucky Friday the 13th, March 13th, 1981, and I didn't know what to drink then. I hadn't been drinking for a while, and I was going to AA, and I knew I had lost it, and I was going back out again, so I bought a 6-pack of tall beers. I figure that's a good drink, good, tasty, and social, and whatever.
Any special type?
I don't remember. Anything but Budweiser, I guess. And then I said, well, I'll get a quart of wine, too, so I can...
Yeah.
Because I might want to have some. So, and then, well, I like sherry, so I'll get a quart of sherry, too.
Right.
But in case they don't work the way I want them to, I better get a quart of 100 proof Old Grandad. So, it's like the saying of, so I bought all that stuff, and I didn't drink it all that night, like when I've heard so many speakers say when they used to drink nips, especially women speakers, a lot of times would drink nips and hide them in their pocketbook, and I think I'll get a couple of nips, and they're walking up to the counter, and they say, well, I better get 4 nips, and they get up to the counter and they say, could I have 6 nips, please?
By the time they get up there.
And it's like that. That's the way it is.
We have some good, we stay down the Salisbury Beach for the summer in a trailer park, but it's permanent. And we have some good friends, and she drinks. She's tiny. I love them both. She's tiny, and she drinks some kind of a hard drink as soon as she gets home. Joe smokes the weed. She drinks. She lost her son recently, and I know what happened. Joe's what's it called? The toilet, or the whole
commode.
The whole tube blocked up. All right, because a guy comes and empties it with the trailer. And Joe said, you know, I know that she's an alk lover. And his system filled up. And when they figured it out, when they went in there was a nip bottle that clogged the whole thing up. So I know an alcoholic. She has that 6-pack of that. It's like a hard drink of some sort when she gets home, and that's not enough.
Yeah.
Throw in something, you know, backing it up, and I just understand her so completely. She works long hours. She has to go through a lot of traffic, and maybe she called Joe and told him she was having a hard day. But Joe had the drink, that can of whatever, ready for her when she got out of the car and went directly for that bottle, that can. And she's functional. She goes to work, but just the disease.
Yeah, some people can function we all function for different periods of time. And when it works, or when it did work, it worked really well. And
Yeah.
you know, often you hear an alcoholic say, you know, if it worked the same way it did when I was in my early 20s, I'd still be doing it today, you know.
Yeah.
But in an alcoholic, it gets to a certain point and everything changes. And it takes you, usually it takes you a while to realize it, and very often someone in your life has to point it out to you before you begin to realize it's a problem. And then eventually, if you drink enough, it doesn't work anymore. You know, occasionally it'll work, but you know, so many times you're drinking and you can't even, you know, your nerves are going, and you know, it doesn't. It's like you're drinking water or something. It just doesn't work, which is a scary place.
Yeah, and that's another part of AA. Let's see. Lost it, but it'll come back in a second, won't it? Well, anyway, I'll go to this. My first drink at Hampton Beach, 2 beers, probably 1964 or something, down at Hampton Beach. That was it. The sky opened up, you know, those 2 beers. I had never experienced this. I failed in school. I was shy. Couldn't talk to women. I had those 2 beers, and it was like I was another person, and I loved it, and I say it. It was like 3 years maybe, because I got drafted in '66. The best years of my life.
Yeah.
You know, hanging at the beach, drinking, chasing a woman, the best years. But it caught up, like you said, it caught up. And I came back from Vietnam at 21, I think. Didn't drink in Vietnam, but man, when I started, you know, it wasn't fun anymore. I now had a family, that responsibility, and I just, you know.
And the idea that in in recovery, we don't just sit around and mourn the good old days. We have, it's imperative for us to keep living, that we have to find a way to live with a newfound happiness, peace, and joy, whatever, to enjoy life in the present without a drink, and to look back and say, yeah, it was a crazy kind of fun, but it was not it was not safe, it was not healthy, it was not sustainable, it was not good.
Yeah, but we didn't know that
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah,
We just,
but I mean, I'm saying now we have to be, the idea is that we enjoy our life far more than we ever did,
Oh. yeah, camaraderie, hanging at the pool room, working with the older guys. Yeah, that was good times, and that was probably, well, when I got sober, my life changed so much. It changed so much is when I had the first drink. Now, I didn't have that drink, and that began that journey, that crazy journey of being sober, and it's all new.
Yeah, and you had talked before about learning new things when you get sober, and that there's a book called Living Sober,
Yeah.
which is that we give to newcomers, and it was so valuable for me when I first got sober because I didn't know how to buy a postage stamp without a drink, and how do I go to family reunions? How do I go to
Right.
weddings? How do
Right.
I go to work and get tired and come home? And how do I, how am I going to
Meet the
do all this
boys.
stuff?
How do I go out back and meet the boys?
What if somebody offers me a drink and all this stuff? And that book, tells you simple defenses and so forth that in the beginning, you don't realize you can say no. If you're at a wedding and everybody at the table is
Right.
drinking, first of all, they're not paying any attention generally to you, whether
Right.
you're drinking or not. You're freaking out about it. And if they offer me a drink, what am I going to say? I'm an alcoholic. I can't drink. I'd like to,
Yeah.
but I can't.
How about an open bar?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so they don't realize they can just say, well, thank you, no, I'm content with my ginger ale, or I don't care to drink, or something like. We don't realize that when we're new, and all the but the biggest challenge to me was dating sober. And that was brutal. Learn a whole new learning experience. And I went out with a girl one time, and she had talked about, she had been married before, and she talked, and I was 34 when I got sober, and she was reminiscing about how when she had met her first husband, and it was a snowy night, the way it was that particular.
Was she getting sober?
She was sober, and he was sober. No,
Okay.
she was non-alcoholic,
She was non-alcoholic.
and but it was a new experience dating someone without a drink, and so she was reminiscing about some of her good times in her life, and when she and her husband were first together, they had gone skiing and so on and so forth, and they came home and they had hot chocolate and Oreos, and I just went, what is that? Hot chocolate and Oreos. My concept of a good date was a gallon of red wine, a gallon of white wine. Let's go out. If she's still speaking to me and she's still there when I sober up, stay drunk for the first 3 months of any relationship. If she's still,
Good advice.
Yeah, if she's still there at the end of that 3 months, she bought my whole line of shit, and it's good. And if she's not, who needs her?
Yeah.
And that was literally, I thought that was a good idea for a relationship. Stay drunk through the hard parts.
Yeah.
Getting to know you. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say before, getting triggered. You're speaking now. I was telling you, I've changed from squirrels in my head to primates. all of the primates.
That's why your head's getting so big.
Yeah, getting triggered. You're talking now, just like an AA meeting. I don't like going back there. You know, and that'll trigger something that, you know, you did this. How could I do those things? How could I? I burnt every bridge. Still, but I didn't know about AA. I just didn't know. I've said it before. My mother was attending Al-Anon for my father, but I just didn't know how to stop. I didn't know that I couldn't pick up that first one. That was the biggest insight for me when I went to dry out, and they said, you just can't drink, you know, or you can't drink today. But I never went that way with, I won't drink today. For me, it was emphatic, and I don't romanticize about drinking and that it would be good. It's just, it's seared into my soul that I just can't go there. I can't pick up the first drink. It's not an option for me. It just isn't an option. I'm very fortunate for that. I mean, we still have to go through life, life on life terms, we say.
And we have to remove every single reservation that it takes you a while to uncover them all. You know, that, well, maybe if my Aunt Petunia comes in from Chicago and I had a bad day at work anyway, and I don't, you know, maybe I could drink then, you know. Or
right.
In these little reservations,
right.
You know, and you have to finally say, under no, if I fall down, my head explodes. If I fall down dying, no, nothing, never, ever. It's not in, and just, it's not a part of our lives, you know, physically, maybe mentally, but.
Yeah.
But you, also, like it says in the literature, we're not fighting anymore. We're not fighting alcohol. You know, we've come to be neutral about alcohol. You know, that it's not something in our lives, and so we don't struggle to stay sober.
Right.
I mean, we struggle to have good attitudes and
right.
so forth. But
there's so much more to staying sober than just not picking up a drink. You know, AA for me, it's meditation, which I have been off the beam with. I haven't meditated in maybe 4 or 5 days, and I can feel it. I can feel it, and just couldn't get there. You know, like I can't get to the gym. You know, I don't know, but we're sober. We're sober. All that, you know, all that stuff, as Roland said, a luxury problem.
Yeah, and we have our good days and our bad days where we're able to, you know, now in my life, I'm at this time in my life, I'm not able to get to as many meetings as I would like to. I'm caretaking my spouse and who has health problems, and you know, taking care of the house, taking care of a 20-year-old cat and a 12-year-old dog who are getting old. But I'm not able to get to a meeting every time that I would want to, you know, as I could. The previous 7-year period where I lived alone, and you know, I could go to all the meetings I wanted to and all the commitments. But you know, I've got a foundation built, and my first sponsor told me that. He said, Jack B. from Gardner, he told me, go to as many meetings as you can while you can, because
Yeah.
there will come a time in your life when you may not be able to.
Right.
And if you have that foundation,
Right. That insurance.
yeah.
They say putting them in the bank, put that meeting in the bank. I know I can't do it without the program. I just went through a few bad days. Has to do with my daughter, and it has to do with my granddaughter. And all of a sudden, my granddaughter left the house. She's 19, and you know, it's just this crazy stuff, and I feel so bad for my daughter. I don't know what to think about my granddaughter. But it was like somebody took a bat and hit me, and it happened just like that. And, you know, I started weeping and just, you know,
Yeah, and you don't, you were saying.
I was going to call you.
You were,
actually.
well, you had said to me when we spoke, you don't know if she's using drugs or alcohol, and there's long time alcoholism in her family, and you know, and it's all there. The you know, the family traits are in her. So, good Lord, you know, hopefully, I'm lucky that. Especially my oldest daughter, you know, went through some hard times when she was younger, and you know, I guess I don't even know. Yeah, she drinks occasionally. I guess she'll have a drink when she's out to dinner or something, maybe, but it's nothing to her, you know. And I was so relieved. I was so relieved when it was when I realized that was the case, you know. Whew, boy, she's going to be all right in that department anyway.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get 2 minutes. I mean, I know your story. We just go back so far, and I know your story. And we've both gone through like that predicament with your daughter, and then not being in contact, but then coming out the other side where you're at. You have because of that experience. I'm at a loss for words, but it's all right, and you're all right with it. You know, I haven't talked with my son for 2.5 years. I don't know what's going to happen. So the red light is on. Danny, thank you very much. Once again, I love having you down here, and you're most gracious for coming down here. So that's it. And this is going to be hopefully what I'm going to say. Instead of that's a wrap, I want to say be grateful. Be grateful for what you have. And that's it. Thank you.